it's a necessary evil, but it doesn't have to be that frustrating. I'm Cicely. In today's career conversation, let's talk about how to write more effective emails using a few simple steps. And by the end of this video, you're going to know how to write a better subject line, but also how to avoid common mistakes that people make when writing emails. And keep watching because I'm going to share what I think is literally the best email feature that every time I mention it to people, they're not using it or they're not aware of it. So keep watching. How's that for a teaser this morning? I can see some of you are joining me live. I'm grateful for those of you who join me live every Monday and Thursday. And look, I see those of you who watch on the replay as soon as we're done. I invite you, come be part of this conversation. Grab your cup of coffee. You can be anonymous, but I invite you to join the conversation in the chat every Monday and Thursday morning. I can see some of you are on YouTube right now. If you click the link below this video, you can subscribe, and that way you get notifications every time I go live. And for those of you who are here on LinkedIn, hey, send me a friend request, a connection request. I would love for you to connect with me. Clearly, I said something because my Siri just went off. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So pull up your chair, folks. We're jumping in this morning. Tip number one, write how you talk. Okay, so I'm doing a demonstration right here. Look at this as I type this email this morning. Huge, huge, huge pet peeve that also is just like the number one do not do. Do not write how you talk. You'll see here, yo, you shouldn't be that casual or informal in an email. We're going to get to all those question marks in just a moment, but you'll also see the OMG. Look, save those kinds of casual terms and those slang terms, save those for your text messages. They don't belong in your work emails, even if you're friends with someone that you're writing the email to. This wow, the all caps, we're going to get to that in a moment as well. But basically, this example is what not to do when you're sending an email at work. Don't write how you talk. Often you talk more casually than your written communication should be. Your written communication should be formal and businesslike because you are writing them for work. So this is the example of what not to do. Don't write how you talk. That's tip number two, excessive punctuation. All right, so let's talk about all of those exclamation points, and in this case, all of the question marks. You don't need 4, 5, 6 question marks. You don't need 4, 5, or 6 exclamation points. This is excessive punctuation. It has no point and it has no place in a professional email. Just one question mark, one exclamation point, that is sufficient. Tip number three, all caps. Let's talk about the use of all caps. You saw it in the example email I used a minute ago, and now you're looking at it here. Do not use all caps in an email. Avoid that at all cost. You may or may not know that using all caps in an email actually comes across as if you're yelling. You don't want to seem as though you're yelling in an email to your colleagues, certainly not to your boss. And I know some people say, well, look, using all caps, I want to call their attention to a particular line in the email to make sure they see it, or I want to make emphasis on a particular point. If you want to make emphasis or call someone's attention to a particular part of the email, then what you do is you underline it or put it in bold. Certainly, you can also use italics. But what you don't do is you don't use all caps. All caps are really, really, really frowned upon when it comes to email communication. So use italics, use bold, or underline that section, but don't use all caps. Number four, let's talk about links. I'm going to go back to this same email because often, especially now, if you want to share information with your boss or a colleague in email, you will see the red arrow and this incredibly long link that is in the email that we're looking at here. That link is just, it's too much. It's just overdone. Instead, look at the hyperlink we've created that goes to the exact same link pasted above, but instead is much cleaner, much more professional, and it still links to the same information. So when it comes to pasting links in an email, use the hyperlink, and that's much more professional, and you can link to the same information versus pasting the long link in an email, which is not professional and looks very messy. The hyperlink goes to the same place, and it's just much cleaner and a much more effective use of links in an email. Tip number 5, here we go. Here's a subject line. Let's talk about how to write an effective subject line. When you're writing an email, especially one that you need action taken, include a call to action in the subject line. And I'm giving you a couple of examples here on the screen. Please approve. If it's urgent and you need an urgent reply, then urgent review needed, or urgent reply, you can also put that in the subject line as well. For review, if you need someone to review something. And look, it goes the other way as well. If it's just an FYI, no action required, put that in your subject line as well. Too often you send emails and you don't get a response. Well, it may be because your subject line is not effective. You're not giving your audience what you need them to do. You're not telling your audience what action you need from them. So they may think it's not urgent or it's not important. When you include a call to action in the subject line, you're very much telling your reader and your audience what you need them to do. And if it's urgent, you should always use the word urgent. But look, this subject line tip, you will get a response every single time, and it makes your emails more effective. So if you want an email that's going to get results and responses, definitely use a CTA in the subject line. Now, before I go any further, and yes, I am still going to share the best email feature that no one's using, or at least the people I talk to aren't using. But first, I have a comment from Eileen. Eileen, thanks for being here this morning. Yeah, I agree with you. These tips are spot on for how to craft a proper email, proper grammar, typos. Yeah, Eileen, I did not touch on the grammar and typos, but you're exactly right. Proofread your emails. I can't tell you how many times I've sent an email. I didn't proofread it. I should have. I can't tell you how many times I've received an email that you could tell was not proofread at all. So Eileen's points are spot on. Look, how you communicate in email says a lot about you, your professionalism, also your credibility in the workplace. You want your written communications to be effective. Now, for those of you that I can see joining me, you haven't offered a comment yet, so I'm going to invite you once again. Put some comments in the chat. Join us in these conversations. We're creating the conversation that's going to make your career better. I'd love to invite you to be part of these. So I'm going to now jump in. You ready? You ready for the best email feature that you're not using, but you should be? Seriously, best email feature ever. Bear with me. You can see my Outlook here. I'm going to simply go to this open email, an email that I've opened. You can see I have started a new message. So I've already clicked the new message button. And now I'm going to go to click. Now this is a Mac. So if you click the arrow next to that, you can hit send later. And send later is quite possibly the best email feature that you're not using. And look, if you're on a PC, then if you go here to the ribbon, then you're going to have options or let me just cancel out of this. You're going to have options or send later here on your ribbon if you're on a PC. But this is a Mac. So once you do once you do your email, then you just click send later. And let me tell you why this is effective. Simply because send later allows you to do two things. One, if you're a crazy person like I tend to be, and I work on emails late at night or early in the morning, send later allows you to send an email at a different time than what you're writing. So if you put your kids to bed and you jump back on your email, then this allows you to send emails at a time when it's more advantageous for your audience. But send later also allows you to draft an email, and then send it later gives you time to go back and look at that email in case you want to revise its subject or its content. So send later gives you a few minutes or even a day or two to think about the content before you send it. So follow these email tips they're simple tips, but follow them to write more effective emails. I chose 5. I could have chose 20 email tips, but follow these 5 to get started writing better emails. And come back for the next video because I am going to show you how to write the perfect email communication for work. So all professionals, you're going to want to watch that email because I'm literally going to show you on screen how to write the most perfect email you can that gets responses and results every single time. But hey, thanks for watching this morning. If you haven't subscribed yet, literally click on my picture and subscribe. I'm also going to link to additional training here on the side in the next corner. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.